Today's conversation is about the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle and really simplifying this so it's so easy so that way you can start to know and learn the language of your body. And then we're going to go into a somatic practice to support you in connecting with your womb and really begin repairing your relationship to your cycle, to your womb, and really find the awe and the magic of being a woman. So my name is Serena Amoroso, and this is Bliss State. This is really your space to strengthen your nervous system, reduce your stress, and return to your radiance. So let's get right into it. Learning the phases of your menstrual cycle is something that I want every single woman, man, human being on the planet to know, because it's not only about us knowing this about ourselves, it's really bringing this broader understanding to all of humanity that I feel and know is so essential for us to all live in harmony together. And I did not know or learn the phases of my menstrual cycle until I was maybe like 24 years old. And this was when I stopped using birth control. I came off of birth control and I started getting curious about my body and my cycle. And that's what it took for me to learn this. I was 24 years old. Like, it just blows my mind that this is something that we're not taught at age like 7. This should be foundational information about our bodies. And I find that for most of us, it's not. So that's why I'm sharing it today. And that's why I really want to simplify it for you. So it's not this like complicated thing of like, oh, I have to learn my cycle, or it's hard, it's confusing. It gets to be so simple and really beautiful. So the way that I love teaching our cycle and the phases of our cycle is through the seasons. So we have our menstrual phase, and this is known as inner winter. Then we have our follicular phase, and this is inner spring. We have our ovulation phase, which is inner summer, and then we have our luteal phase, which is inner autumn. And so this makes it so easy to learn and understand the phases of your cycle because the energies are similar to the seasons, meaning what would you want to do during winter, right? What is our natural inclination during the season of winter? There's less sun, things are colder, we tend to go more inward, we tend to be in this kind of hibernation energy, and it's a lot of slowness. It's a death cycle. There's darkness. And that's also what's happening in our internal experience and in our bodies during the menstrual phase, during this inner winter. So I'm going to say them again, and then we'll go into a little bit more details about each of them. But there's so much to nerd out on. So if you want more information on this, be sure to stay on my Instagram because I'm going to keep sharing more information about all of this. So we've got menstruation, follicular phase, ovulation, and luteal. Those are the 4. Okay, and then they go along with winter, spring, summer, and fall. So then we move into our follicular phase. And what is happening here? This is inner spring. So just like in spring, you start planting new seeds, right? This is when the days start getting longer. The sun is coming out. There's more energy. So here, this is when you start, I find that there's typically so much inspiration and creativity and ideas flowing through. And this is where you can start to direct your energy and your intentions of what you want to have happen over the next month, of what you want to be creating over the next month. And then we can move into ovulation. So ovulation is this inner summer. This is fire, right? The heat is alive. There's a lot of energy. And this is the space of creation. This is the space of massive action. You have the energy for this. Your hormones are aligned for this. So this is where you take those seeds that you planted, the ideas that you have, and you really start taking action on them. And then you move into luteal phase, which is the phase of inner autumn. And this is where you kind of reap the harvest. It's a completion cycle. It's when things are ending and you're getting ready for that winter, but it's really completion. So, oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah, it's so obvious. It's so simple. That's why I love teaching it this way. I'm so glad that this is opening something up for you. So then it's like you start slowing down in that autumn phase, in that fall phase. And oh, the wind is blowing, so my lighting's getting all crazy. Okay, here we go. This is live. This is what happens. So then you would go back into winter. And the really important thing that I want to say, there's so many things here, but inner winter and this death cycle is not necessarily about always being in this like heaviness or this darkness. That's what I feel like we've really been conditioned into as women. But I find that the menstruation phase is really this time of the supernatural. Like I call them like just vision quests, like psychedelic vision quests during my bleed. And this does not mean I'm taking psychedelics. Like I find the energy of actually menstruation to be incredibly psychedelic. It's like the veil is thinner and we're tapping in to a space beyond where we can really journey. And this is where you're collecting the data for your follicular phase of what do I want to be creating in this next cycle. And so that's a really basic 101 of the phases of your cycle, what they are and the energies that are aligned with them. And I want you to know that you can go so deep into this, and there's what I really recommend for my clients and how I live my own life is I really map out like business projects according to where I'm at in the phases of my cycle. I ask different questions to myself during different phases of my cycle. I work out differently during different phases of my cycle. I eat differently during different phases of my cycle. Like this is tremendous intimacy with yourself, and this is where you come into even more power within yourself because you're really living in harmony with your nature. And it's no longer you fighting of like, oh, well, you're bleeding and you're trying to like complete a big project and like speak in front of an office. Like that would almost be insane to me because that's not where your energy is at. That's not what your body is prepared for or wanting to do. And so most of our culture, most of our society, especially in Western civilization, is not aligned with our cycles. You're told it's in this solar cycle, whereas the menstrual cycle is more of this lunar cycle. And the solar cycle is show up every day. You're the same every day. But the reality is, as a woman, as a female body, that is not true. Your hormones are constantly changing. You are constantly changing. You are not the same every day. You do not have the same energy every day. You do not have the same capacities every day. And that's really beautiful. Like there's a lot of beauty and power in this. Yes, 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 yes. So I will give you a little bit about the hormones. So during the beginning of your cycle, when you are in that follicular phase, that's when estrogen starts rising. And then as you get into ovulation, that's when your luteinizing hormone is going to peak. And that's really important if you're practicing non-hormonal birth control, which is a different conversation. Stay tuned for that. And then as you get into luteal phase, your estrogen will start dropping and your progesterone will start rising. Now, if your hormones are imbalanced, and especially if you have a lot of stress and your nervous system is dysregulated, this is going to throw your hormones out of whack, and this is going to imbalance, especially your progesterone, which is then going to create your PMS symptoms. So I truly believe and know that PMS is not a requirement of our cycles as women. I don't typically have it in my cycle unless I've had a lot of stressors happen. Then the next cycle or two, I might notice it. And I know that it's because I had more stress in the past couple of months. I've also seen this with my clients where when they start doing this work, they have no symptoms, no more breakouts, like no more lethargy, no more cramping, and they get surprised that their bleed even came. Like one of my clients even said, like, I felt like I was like 16. Like I started bleeding in the sheets. I was not prepared for this. I had no idea it was coming because there were none of these symptoms. And that's what happens when our nervous system is strong. When we become more resilient to stress, we're processing things in real time. Like our cycle is made to be blissful. It's not made or designed to be this inconvenient, painful curse on women. And if that's your relationship to it, like this is where you begin to get healing and repairing that relationship right now, because you get to start to see the magic of these cycles and how they actually help you live your life with so much more flow. Like it's like a built-in kind of like structure of like, okay, what do I focus on this week? Like, okay, I'm in my ovulation phase, like action, like being social, doing high intensity things. It's like, you don't even have to ask yourself, like, what do I do right now? Or like, it's like your body is telling you. Your body is telling you. So that is a really simple way to begin relating to your cycle. And now I would love for us to go into a somatic practice around it. And if you have any questions about this, share them in the comments, send me a DM. I'd love to hear what's coming up for you around this, answer your questions. And now let's settle it.